Today I'm making Midwestern deep dish pizza in a cast iron skillet. This is my favorite at-home method for a foolproof, indulgent pie with crispy crust and caramelized, lacy cheese all along the edges. I love using cast iron for pizza because it has a high heat capacity, emulating a pizza stone or steel, and it maintains heat while cooking. Paired with a high hydration dough, you can get an airy crumb with a shatteringly crispy bottom. It's honestly the best pizza I've ever made at home, and it might just be one of the best recipes out there, especially if you don't have a pizza stone or steel. Enough background, now let me show you how to make it. Start with 500 grams of flour, add 15 grams of sugar, 11 grams of salt, and 7.5 grams of yeast. For my pizza, I want a 72% hydration, which is 360 grams of water. I'm not adding any oil to my dough, though you totally can. Just keep in mind that your gluten development will be limited that way though. This recipe makes enough dough for two 12-inch cast iron pizzas. Start by kneading the dough with a fork and combine the ingredients until the dough is too thick to continue. Then go in with your hands, grab and pull the dough towards the center of the bowl, then press down into it with your palm, rotating the dough as you go for even kneading. Continue until the dough becomes too sticky, then switch back to the fork. You can grab the dough like this and fold it over, and then push it in on itself. Once the dough forms a more cohesive ball, you can go back in with your hands and finish kneading. When you're making this at home, remember to switch tools when it becomes a sticky mess so you can avoid frustration. The secret to phenomenal pizza dough at home is truly in the hydration. The higher water content causes dough to form a more airy crumb structure, resulting in crispier, lighter pizza. In contrast, low moisture dough tends to have a denser crumb and a chewier texture. Trust me, it gets easier with practice, so be sure to take it slow and be careful. Don't skimp on the moisture here. Now that the dough is hydrated, leave it out to ferment for 1 hour, folding the edges into the middle every 20 minutes. This step helps develop the gluten structure in a high hydration dough like this, and after the first hour, do another bulk fermentation for 2 more hours, after which punch down the dough. The purpose of bulk fermentation is to introduce some of those more complex flavors from organic acids, including acetic acid and alcohol. Cold fermentation doesn't provide as many of those flavorful compounds, so I always like to start off with a room temperature ferment, or even better, ferment inside an oven with the overhead light turned on and a tray of warm water for humidity control at the bottom. Portion the dough into 2 balls and refrigerate for at least 2 days. This cold fermentation step helps build a tangy flavor and allows the dough to rise. Cold fermenting for extended periods allows enzymes in the flour to go to work, including protease. This enzyme enhances dough extensibility, relaxing the dough, and releasing amino acids, thereby encouraging Maillard reactions and improving the flavor. Alpha and beta amylase also go to work, releasing sugars for the yeast to ferment, improving dough volume, caramelization, and Maillard browning. Traditionally, pizza dough is fermented at room temperature. Cold fermentation, though, makes forming the final shape significantly easier with a high hydration dough. It's more common in this style of pizza. This dough does freeze extremely well, so make as much as you want, but portion it out before freezing. After cold fermenting, degas the dough and start shaping the crust. Before doing anything, generously coat your hands and work surface with olive oil. The method I use most is letting gravity shape my dough. I start by gently shaping my pizza into a disc before picking it up and rotating it so it forms into a rough shape. But if you want a perfectly round pizza dough, you can toss it. It's actually fairly easy. You can do it with the same technique as throwing a basketball. I'm not doing that, but if you want to impress guests, you should practice tossing your pizzas. Another method is to shape the dough entirely on the counter. Press the dough into a disc shape and gently pull in opposite directions while rotating. Both of these methods are great, so use whatever you think is easiest. I recommend the gravity method though. Quick tip, if your dough starts to resist stretching, that means the gluten has seized. But don't panic. That just means you have to put the dough down and take a 10 to 15 minute break. The gluten will relax and your dough will become pliable again. Once your dough is shaped, add some olive oil to your cast iron pan and then let the dough proof one last time while the oven preheats to its maximum temperature. While the dough is proofing, grate some whole milk, low moisture mozzarella over the large holes of a box grater. Low moisture is the best option for pizza for several reasons. High moisture cheese also causes whey to pool over the crust. which is desirable in some pizza types, but that's not what I want for this pizza. Whole milk mozzarella has a lower melting point when compared to skim or part skim because of the higher fat content. The fat in this cheese also helps with mired browning via increased heat transfer. Most importantly, the higher fat content brings more flavor. On the small holes of a box grater, I'm shredding some Parmesan or Reggiano to bring some salty umami kick to that cheese. I'm also preparing a simple sauce by combining some tomato passata, which is super fresh pureed tomatoes, which brings a synergistic acidity and a bright pop to the final pizza, contrasting with the tangy, crispy crust and the rich, gooey cheese. Add a pinch of salt followed by garlic powder and a shake of MSG. Finally, add some crushed dried oregano for that classic pizza sauce flavor. If you haven't made a pizza with fresh sauce like this, I highly recommend giving it a try. It is by far the best pizza sauce method that I know of. For toppings, I'm just going to slice some of this thin pepperoni up. Once the oven is ready, turn your stove to medium heat and preheat your skillet. While the skillet's preheating, top your pizza with that fresh pizza sauce, mozzarella, Parmesan Reggiano, and pepperoni. For a pizza like this, I sauce and cheese right to the edge. And this method leads to those crispy, cheesy crust bites. You'll know it's ready when it starts to sizzle gently, then add it to the bottom rack of your oven until the cheese is browned and melty. When your pizza is finished, carefully remove it and let it cool for a few minutes. Remember, this just came out of a searing hot oven. It's going to be way too hot to eat, so be careful. That's how you make the crispiest, cheesiest, freshest cast iron pizza. I hope you give this recipe a try, and it's a super easy pizza recipe you can throw together in only a few minutes of active work, especially if you pre-make a large batch of dough. If you enjoyed this video or found the information helpful, please leave a like and subscribe for more weekly videos. I hope you give this recipe a try and let me know how it goes in the comments below. Sorry for the delay on this week's video. I wasn't feeling well last weekend, but I really wanted to share this pizza recipe with you guys.